No one's going to see me. It's just going to be me and my husband.
Yeah.
So on December 31st, my husband and I were walking on the beach and he took some candid shots that night. We're scrolling through his phone and we look at those photos and I'm like, now, mind you, I'm retired now. So I'm
Mhm.
like, encore career. And I was jokingly, hey, not too bad for a 55-year-old retired gray hair.
Hello, hello. How are you, Nina?
I'm so good. Jim, how are you?
Oh, I love the positive energy. It must be a good Friday for you.
Yeah, what is it? Friday. Friday.
There you go. I'm doing I'm doing well as I can be. I started a
Good.
new job about a week ago, so I'm in over my head. So I feel like, but I'm getting.
Cool. Cool.
Where in the world are you right now?
So I'm in my hometown of Long Beach, California.
Oh, very
I was born
cool.
and raised here. Yeah.
Really? Well, that's not a common thing. Usually people move to Long Beach as, later in life or, when they kind of settle things up with their situation.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's really funny, just a little sidebar. So I actually was born and raised in Long Beach, and I actually live on the same block that I grew up on. And while I'm not how can I phrase this? While I'm not the oldest person on the block, Jim, I'm the most senior resident on the block.
you are the go-to person in Long Beach, not only on your block then. I mean,
That's right. I'm like the neighborhood watch captain, Jim. I'm like, the go-to, all that stuff.
yes, hey, that's the best way. Okay. Anyone needs a reference on Long Beach, you are the one to go to on all that. Well, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. You kind of get to live.
Hey,
You are a beach girl at heart in that case.
100%. Yeah, me, Snoop Dogg, Cameron Diaz,
That's
Billie
right.
Jean King.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you go to that high school too that they went to?
Yes. So now, mind you, I'm 7 years older than they are, than Snoop and Cameron. But yes, Poly High School. We all graduated from Long Beach Polytechnic.
That's a
So
popular high school, produced a lot of a
yeah,
wide range of talent, and now including yourself too. So,
I
but is
yeah,
that
go
the
figure.
first SI model to come out of Long Beach? I wonder that too.
You know what? I think I might need to look that up, Jen. I think so.
That
I
might be
think
a really cool
so.
stat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be a
Although
first in that too.
exactly. Although, Snoop Dogg is friends with Martha Stewart. And
Right.
she was on the cover, right? So Snoop does have an affiliation with Sports Illustrated via Martha Stewart and now kind of me. So
That's
there you
right.
go.
That's all well done right there. I mean, you have such an interesting story. Just before all this happened to you, and I was reading sort of your background and biography. Um, wow, they say sometimes, life ends or goes downhill after 50 or whatnot. You are the opposite of that saying because life is just seems like it's beginning for you in so many ways.
It totally is, Jim. It's really interesting because, I did retire 2 years ago from higher
Hmm.
education. I was an associate dean. And, my students were returning adult students. So
Mhm.
basically, either they were just getting their bachelor's degree or they were getting their master's or their doctorates. And then I was helping some people on the workforce development side with kind of changing their careers. So when I had the opportunity to retire 2 years ago, I thought, I better practice what I preach, right?
Mhm.
Little did I know, though, that it would be this encore career. It's like,
Yeah.
I kind of dipped my toes into the pool of modeling again and literally was thrown in the deep end with Sports Illustrated. And I am so grateful to them and to MJ for really starting this wave for me in my encore career. So it's been amazing.
Sometimes timing's everything because,
Yeah.
10 years ago or so, Sports Illustrated wasn't doing these sort of things. I mean, they've really kind of not only modernized, but expanded themselves and some in their viewpoints of certainly having different women of different ages and shapes and ethnicities. And it's really been cool to see that sort of there's a Sports Illustrated model a lot more places than the small pool that you used to kind of look for, and it gives kind of hope. And I would feel to people of different backgrounds that would never even imagine something being on that, especially being associated with such an iconic thing like the swimsuit issue too.
Yeah, such an iconic brand. And yeah, if I go back to my high school years in the 80s, I'm a Gen Xer, go Gen
There
Xers.
you go.
Yeah, you wouldn't see someone like me in the magazine, right? Let alone someone like me now with gray hair who's 57 years old. And so I applaud MJ Day, who was instrumental in doing that pivot, that positive pivot for including diversity in especially the Sports Illustrated swimsuit
Yeah.
issues. Again, to your point, Jim, that probably would not have been a thought 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But now it's here, so we're not going to dwell on the past. We're going to
Yeah.
celebrate the here and now and the future. And I say to all the women out there who think that their prime has passed, that, they'll adage that once you turn gray,
Yeah.
I don't know, it equates to being old, out to pasture, tired, someone's grandma, like that
Mm-hmm.
whole. I know some hot and sexy grandmas out there,
You are one
but
yourself. My goodness, you put away some of these 27-year-olds in so
oh,
many ways. So
thank you. Well, I'm here to say slay the gray, guys. To,
yeah.
to, to all my female and male friends who are Gen Xers who have retired or who are looking for another encore career and who are unsure of like the next steps in their life, slay the gray, man. You're not, how could I say this, Jim? So back in when my mom was my age,
Yeah.
it was more like the Golden Girls. And you saw how the Golden Girls were portrayed on TV. Now, mind
Mhm.
you, Blanche was 55. I'm 57. And look how they portrayed Blanche at 55 on the Golden Girls. And look at Paulina Paraskova, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, Naomi Campbell. Look at all these wonderful ladies who are in their mid to late 50s. We certainly aren't the Blanches, right, and the Roses of 20 and 30 years ago. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And not only, I mean, I've seen some of these pictures, your fitness level is next level too. I mean, the body and everything. And I would imagine it gives inspiration because, sometimes, like you mentioned, you grade, you start mentally. It starts kind of mentally, I would imagine. You start feeling like your body can be great or it can't do these sort of things. And this is sort of proof, yes, it can. It's sort of all in your head in a lot of ways that you can change these things and the perception's not reality.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said perception is not reality because I have type 2 diabetes. So
You would never
looking at
imagine that
me,
too. You would never, because you'd imagine diabetes someone, overweight, obese,
yeah,
or just like very poor looking in health. And
right.
and this is sort of a warning sign too that hey, it could happen even if you look physically different. So I was
Yeah.
shocked by that too, by the way.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up because, yeah, again, looks can be deceiving. So I
Mhm.
do have type 2 diabetes, and I was diagnosed when in 2015 with type 2 diabetes. When
Mhm.
I was 26 years old and pregnant with my daughter Harrison, I had gestational diabetes. So I knew at that time the chances of me getting diabetes as an adult was that much more higher. So I had always, since the age of 26, I had always monitoring and looking for the signs of diabetes. And then, when I hit, when it was 2015 and I started feeling those symptoms and seeing those symptoms, I went in and sure enough, I was diagnosed. So for me, I'm very lucky that my A1C levels are on the low side. I fluctuate anywhere between like 5.7 to 6.5 ish, but
Mhm.
I'm on medication and I will need to be probably for the rest of my life because it's genetics for me. So
Mhm.
no matter how much I work out, no matter how much I eat well, it's just genetics. So that's something that I'm going to be very, very conscious about and take very seriously.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that, hey, just because you have diabetes or just because you have some other kind of quote unquote disability doesn't mean that you cannot obtain your dreams and to go
Mhm.
for things that like 30 years ago, Jim, I would have never imagined me being in a bathing suit, number one, a two-piece because I'm more modest, but then number two, being Sports Illustrated, the most iconic magazine for bathing suits and women in the world. So
it's also not only getting an opportunity, but
Yeah.
it's also allowing yourself to be in position to get an
Yeah.
opportunity a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you got involved in the search to begin with, too, because you need to make an effort and mentally, like, yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to go for something. I'm sure there's a casting call or whatnot, or maybe they just found you in Long Beach on the beach. I'm curious to hear the
Yeah.
backstory about it.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? You talked about right timing or it's never too late. So, I grew up in a very Filipino Catholic military family, very modest. So if, I go back to if I were to wear a bathing suit, Jim, it would have been a one piece. That's just my jam.
Yeah.
So my husband's Australian, and we had not been back to Australia in probably 3.5 years due to the pandemic. So in 2022, in December, we decided to go back and stay for about a month and a half. And because it's their summertime, because Australia is different than
Yeah, it's
America,
opposite flip.
it's the opposite. I forgot my bathing suit, so we went to the local mall by my mother-in-law's house to find a bathing suit. And because it was their summertime, I could not find a bathing suit in my size because they were all sold out. The only bathing suit that I found in my size, literally, was a two-piece leopard skin bikini bathing suit, which is totally the opposite of me. But
Uh-huh.
I thought, my husband and I, we love to do early morning walks on the beach. So I thought, what, I'm just going to get it. No one's going to see me. It's just going to be me and my husband.
Yeah.
So on December 31st, my husband and I were walking on the beach, and he took some candid shots that night. We're scrolling through his phone, and we look at those photos, and I'm like, now, mind you, I'm retired now. So I'm
Mhm.
like, encore career. And I was jokingly, hey, not too bad for a 55-year-old retired gray hair. Like, and so I had remembered that Kathy Jacobs, she was a
Yes,
rookie at
that's right.
57. Yeah, like
Mhm.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I said to my husband, I said, I'm going to apply for this swim search, thinking honestly, Jim, that the search was already over. It ended, like the application process, because it was the end of the year.
Mhm.
And when I looked it up, to my surprise, they extended the application period to January 1st. And
Wow.
well, Australia is a day ahead. So I literally had a
Wow, this
minute.
is so close to the death. That's unbelievable.
It's like the stars aligned. And so I cobbled together a very quick, totally unprofessional application, and put those photos that my husband took of me and put something together and uploaded it, and then kind of forgotten about it, right? Because I had other things going on. And then 3 months later, after my submittal, I get an email saying, congratulations, Nina, you've made it to the top 24.
Wow.
So
It's like I didn't know there was even,
I'm
a
like, oh,
right now probably that
I'm
was
like,
going on.
I swear I thought somebody was punking me, like,
Wow.
my husband or daughter, because I didn't tell anybody that I did it except for my husband and my daughter.
Mhm.
And so I thought they were punking me, And so, yeah, to my utter surprise and shock, they were not punking me. It was real. It was from Sports Illustrated. So I made the 24, then I made the 12, then I made the 7. And then, yeah, then they decided to keep all 7 of us as
Which is
winners.
cool. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
You kind of have the whole
totally.
group,
Yeah,
in that case.
yeah,
And it's
kind of
it's
cool.
it's wild too. I've seen the clips and videos. These women range in different ages and everything too. So it's a very a diverse group in every way you can think of. Two of those seven.
Absolutely. And I'm like the mama. And I
Yeah.
say that proudly because they are my children's ages. Okay, they are.
Uh-huh.
I think Jenna maybe 35 now, I'm not sure, but my daughters are 32, 31, and 28.
Mhm.
So they're, yeah, I'm the mom out of the group, and I call them my lovelies, and I'm so proud of each and every one of them. They are rock stars, and they're still young. I could say that because I'm 30 years older than them, and I really cannot wait to see all the other wonderful things that they're going to achieve. I'm really proud of them.
That's really cool that you sort of all made a bond. Always will have this bond going forward, together.
Yeah.
But also that you develop these friendships. That's really like a neat aspect of this too. Is that like, wow, you found a connection with these women in different age
Yeah.
groups and backgrounds that you otherwise never would have.
Oh, yeah.
Met them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And going to the red carpet event and the party, and meeting, Martha Stewart and Gail King is on the cover. And it was just it was a magical moment. You know, I felt like Cinderella and I didn't want it to end.
Oh,
I
that's
really,
perfectly said. What was the shoot like? Was that kind of obviously new too? It's, I'm sure, a little bit more lights and all that setup than when your husband was taking pictures on the beach. But how was the shoot
yeah.
itself? Was it
Oh,
intimidating or fun? Like, what was your kind of mentality when you were doing the shoot?
oh gosh, I was scared. Not gonna lie, I was intimidated. I was more nervous than when I had to defend my dissertation in
Oh
my
wow,
doctoral program.
that's a good description right
Yeah.
there.
Um, but I will say that the entire crew was so lovely and supportive and embracing and welcoming, knowing that I was new to the whole bathing suit,
Mm-hmm.
bikini posing, and they just provided guidance and tips. And I felt so wonderful. I felt supported to do the best I could for them. Because they wanted me to shine and I also wanted them to shine because this was for the 60th anniversary issue.
Yeah, that's a big
Huge.
deal in itself. It's
It
not
was
just to anyone.
huge.
That's a
Yeah.
landmark and anniversary issue too.
100%, because a lot of magazines don't make it that far, right? And
Definitely not.
especially pivoting the way that they did to be so diverse and inclusive of all types of beauty, right? I think beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And certainly they were able to include that in this magazine. But the shoot was, it was magical. It was in Porto, Portugal. And it was almost
Oh wow!
like,
I was gonna ask you. I'm like, God,
yeah.
did we do it near Long Beach or something? Oh, Porto, Portugal. Like that's another
Yeah.
level there. Wow,
Oh,
that must have been an
yeah.
experience in itself, right there.
In beautiful Portugal. I had never been, and
Oh,
I want to take my family back there because I didn't get to spend enough time exploring that beautiful country. But yeah, it's all very secretive, right? Because they don't want to let the cat out of the bag, and rightly
sure.
so, because it needs to be a surprise. So when I got the information just about a week before I was going, super excited. But it was like, from LA to New York, then a flight from New York to Lisbon, then a flight from Lisbon to Porto, and then a car ride from Porto, like 2 hours to the location. So I was like,
Wow, what a
that was
journey!
hilarious.
Amazing
Yeah,
race.
yeah, totally. So it was so great and it was beautiful there. The venue was just amazing. And the other rookie that shot with me, but we didn't do it at the same time, was Penny Lane. So it was wonderful to spend time with her
Oh, that's
on
great.
that
So
shoot.
it's a little bit of a
Yeah.
bonding thing too over there.
Yeah.
Just you
Yeah.
alone and undisclosed locations, like on a mission trip
Exactly.
yeah. It's
Exactly. And Ben Watts, he's the photographer. He's amazing. He
Mhm.
just made me feel so comfortable,
They
and
have the
he's
best
around
of the
my
best.
age. Yeah, he's around my age, so it was kind of like that Xer thing. And
Hmm.
so it was really cool. And of course the hair and makeup artists and stylists, they were just so great. It was
You look
wonderful.
very natural, though. It was a thing about it too that I loved how they did the photos that they made you look natural. They didn't, over enhance or sometimes airbrush or have the hair maybe
Yeah.
going with the thing. It just looked very natural and peaceful, almost that they catch you. It felt like a shot in a moment, like you are
Yes.
in a moment of just doing life, and that's what makes it kind of more realistic and appealing and relatable. I felt like too, because it's not like, wow, this is just capturing inner sort of life and beauty, without enhancement, really just capturing the moment and in the best way that they know how to as professionals.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it's all about authenticity. One
Yes.
thing that I applaud MJ for doing is MJ said to me, she goes, I'm not going to create you, or SI is not going to create you.
Mm-hmm.
You tell us how you want to be perceived, right? And you tell us how you want the public to know who Nina Cash is. And I, grew up, I didn't wear a lot of makeup and I still don't. That's just who I am. And I love to get glammed up. Trust me, I really do. But for the most part, I never wore just a ton of makeup. And so I just really wanted to be natural. Jody, who's the makeup artist, said, Nina, what do you want to do? How do you want to look? I said, just as natural as possible, just who I am. I think, Jim, being in education, um,
Yeah.
people look to me for realness, right? I'm 57. I don't want airbrushing. I don't want those spider veins and those stretch marks and whatever, those are badges of honor, right?
Yes.
Stretch mark. I had a child. I am blessed to have a child. That is because I had a child, right? So they're I don't want to say battle scars, but they're more like, badges of honor, if you
Yeah.
will. So, and they embraced that. They said, whatever you want to do, we're 100% behind you.
That's
So, yeah, they didn't like try to pigeonhole anybody into what their vision of beauty is. It's the person and how they wanted to be portrayed. So,
for me, it's almost a amazing new thing because being part of the single person online dating world where you look at a picture and you don't know what it's going to be like in person
right.
because everyone's just like filtering or doing some sort of now AI, pictures and all that. It's like you appreciate the naturalness of someone who embraces that and is that because I think in society we have so much pressure to sort of look our best version all the time and all that. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately not what most people would want. I feel like they just want the person they're going to see every day, um,
Right.
sort of thing, and not this like idealistic image. Because then upholding that, how do you even do that? You can't be at your nines and tens
Yeah.
all the time. So
No, exactly. The
exhausting.
most real you could be, the better, right? Just
Yeah.
be your authentic self. Just be who you are, and you're going to attract those people, right? I'm a firm believer in that. It's like who you are on the inside. If it radiates on the outside, you will attract likeness.
Yeah,
So,
no question.
yeah.
And I think that's really important kind of message for everyone to embrace yourself, be yourself. You don't need to use filters and all these things. So if someone's going to like you, they're going to like you for you, not for the filter or whatever,
Right?
image there that, you want to catch their attention with,
Exactly.
it's very
Exactly.
short-sighted in
Yeah,
that way.
and you can't compare yourself to anybody else.
Oh,
You can't. You are uniquely you. And comparison is really the thief of joy
mhm.
because you're always going to be like, oh, I wish I was that. I wish I was this. Be happy with who you are now. And then you'll find peace and contentment.
Yeah, I feel like that's something you also learn over years of life. The more you mature, you sort of stop caring as much about, the outside perception, appearance, all these things. You sort of embrace yourself and who you are. And I think you're like a classic example of this too. And we go through like, trials of, insecurity, all these are normal things too. But also as long as, at the end of the day, you're pretty much authentic to yourself. That's all you can ask of yourself, really.
And and I always say that one of the gifts of aging, I think Jennifer Lewis said this was the gift of aging is one of the gifts of aging is wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
life experience,
100%.
100%. 100%. And I go into, when people look at me and they say, oh my gosh, she has, a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate. I'm the first one to say that the best classroom is the world and the best teacher is life experience, hands down. You do not have to necessarily be book smart, right? To have that formal degree to be smart and knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think as you get older, you can recognize these things. And again, with age comes that wisdom that is very hard to, no, I shouldn't say it's very hard. Sometimes it's more difficult to explain that to a younger person who
Yes.
hasn't experienced life yet.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned you worked with like adults trying to reestablish themselves, find different careers. So it's
Yeah.
interesting in itself too because that's people those are people who are trying to kind of, you know, pivot in life or give it another chance for things and getting to that point and realizing that, maturing to a certain point too to give it a go at something that's really interesting too, that you've seen that firsthand with what you've done for all these years.
100%. And I might add that one of my really dear friends is 76 and he just earned his bachelor's.
That's
His
amazing.
bachelor's degree 2 days ago, walked in the ceremony. I'm so proud of him because he actually was a producer for an entertainment network and did some red carpets and everything, but never finished his bachelor's. And so now he has all this life experience. And one of the things that he wanted to do was get that bachelor's. And he did at the age of 76. I am so proud of him. So,
No
so proud.
question. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like, why would I have to do this? I went through all my life without it, but it shows a determination and a personal
Yeah.
pride. And just applying yourself to something different and new and challenging yourself, which is great because, like we mentioned, I think back in the day, the mentality was like, you're done, just wait for your life to end
Yeah.
and slowly for that. But it just shows like now that you can be so much more and you can contribute to society or pass it down to someone younger and all these things
Hmm.
with the knowledge you acquire, which is important too.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There's no right prescription, right, for one's life. Meaning,
Yes.
you graduate high school, then you go to college, then you work, then you get married, then you have a baby, or first you get married, then you buy a house, then you have a baby.
Mhm. Not
That's
in today's world.
it's not. No, no. Everybody has a different path to success. Everybody does, and we should embrace that, encourage that. It's not just a formal education right out of high school. It could be the military. It could be you have to work. It could be, an internship or externship. Many different avenues to success, to one's success. And I guess the bottom line, Jim, is happiness. One's happiness.
I think
Yeah.
that hits to me home because like I am I'm 38, soon to be 39 actually. So it's like, oh,
Still young, still young.
I feel young, so it's like I never think of age. It's like, oh, you're almost 40, and it's like, but you mentality says like, oh, when I look at some of my friends, they did sort of the traditional route, maybe college, got the career, found someone, had a wife and kids, and I'm like not there. I chose like sort of the trying to break into entertainment and journalism, which is a tough path to go through. And my trajectory has been nothing like that. I went to grad school in my early 30s, after all these years to
Great.
sort of, go into journalism. I was in media, but like I sort of pivoted that route too, more towards like a journalistic background. Then I found myself what I'm good at. I finally discovered that I like doing on camera stuff. I like doing interviews, and that's
Awesome.
sort of my journalism, school. But I learned that in my early 30s, not
Yeah.
traditionally when a lot of, some of my colleagues or whatnot were graduating in their 20s, doing that. It's just different paths. And, what is success? And for me, it was just like, people view it as money. Like, oh, when are you making money? How are you paying bills? Like, I've struggled for so many years doing freelance work and all that, but I was never unhappy doing what I was doing. I think that was the key to it to kept me going because, like, I think we value a lot of stuff by like, oh, how much are you making? Like, you need to do this in this life. You're too old not to be making this. But it was just like, would that bring me happiness if I settled for something else? Like, I live a life with no regrets. I think like you live one life and make the most best out of it. And it's just like at
Right.
the end of the day, it's personal happiness. Because if you have that, you will eventually find your way to whatever you're looking to. It might take a long time, but if you have that happiness, it keeps you going, keeps you motivated. Because if you're not happy, it can destruct everything, even if you're making money per se or whatnot. So it's an interesting way that you said that because I've lived
Mhm.
that, kind of pursuing my passion. Like, how far will I go with this? With sometimes the lack of jobs or money coming in and trying to find alternate routes to support myself and support this dream and career I chose. And it does ring true that everyone does have a different path and to stick with it, and not kind of quit on yourself. I think the one thing I have is always the outermost confidence in myself. I always feel like
Good.
I'm investing in myself and like that's the best bet. It's better than stocks.
Yes.
It's better than, anything else.
100%.
It's like I trust myself that I will put into work and get to there eventually. So I'm investing, and sacrificing in myself eventually to get that payoff. So I think that's kind of a,
Wonderful.
to people
Yeah.
to follow things, especially in, a land like LA where people come to dream and pursue things
Yes.
are difficult.
Yeah, and I have to add too, because I've done a lot of speaking at high schools and colleges, that it's okay to have what you call your survival job
Yes.
while you're pursuing your passion job. Totally okay. I'm gonna tell you a story not too many people know. Well, I think my close friends know. So when I was working at the university, my last year, it was a lot, right? Because it was on the heels of the pandemic. We were the university I was working at, we were transitioning 29,000 students, 6,000 faculty and staff to an online environment. It's a lot. It was a big undertaking. And of course, during that time, it was very concerning and stressful for a lot of people. And I remember coming home and telling my husband, I would just love to have a job where I could just go in and just do the job and come home and not have to think about anything. Well, I like to say that I have a black belt in bargain shopping, Jim. I like to say that I learned my bargain shopping skills from my sensei, my older sister. So I said to my husband, I go, I want to work at Ross. I just said that because it's very close to my house. So
Uh-huh.
I literally went online. I applied to Ross. Now, mind you, I didn't put my I didn't put my work history or my education
Yes.
because I go, oh,
They might have think twice about it,
like,
that, as
I
far
go,
as a
what is this
candidate.
lady doing? Yeah. And I was surprised that they actually called me in for an interview and I got the job because I wanted to be a stock person. So I would work like Saturday mornings from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I'm telling you, it was wonderful because I got my, people say retail therapy. There were so many pluses to me in that job. I got to get up at 4 a.m. I got my steps in, my 10,000 steps in because I was doing stock and I was running around. I got just my quiet time and just got to focus. I got to complete a project, like I'm folding the towels. And the towels look great now. And guess what? The towels don't have issues. I don't have to solve a problem with towels
Yes,
or
yes.
like or
So
like
true.
the rack of shirts or whatever. And people laughed at me. They were like, wait a minute, you have your doctorate, you're an associate. Why are you working at Ross? I'm like, because I want to.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that,
No.
right? Because I want to. It's like, don't let your job title define who you are as a person, right? Find your happiness. And that's what I did. So, my survival job happened to be my passion job, which was education. Also working as a stock person at a retail clothing store. And then now my passion is the modeling world and this. So
Amazing.
I couldn't feel more blessed and just wonderful about this whole experience,
Yeah,
truly.
all roads sort of linked up. And you know what? Maybe if you didn't do one of these things, it wouldn't get you to where you are today. So it all
Yeah,
led to the position you're at right now, which is amazing,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
allowed yourself to do that. That's another key in all of this. I'm curious, but
yeah.
before we start wrapping up here, what was your reaction when you first saw your pictures published? Whether it was in a magazine or you maybe saw it digitally. I'm curious what was it like, because we are so critical of our pictures in general as humans usually, but this being such a big deal, do you remember your sort of initial reaction when you first saw him?
Yeah, I was like, is this real? Like, like, I went back to this whole thing. Is someone punking me? Is this like, am I in a dream? What is happening? It was just, I cried. I was so happy for a couple of reasons. I was happy because, I never thought that I would be in a magazine like this,
Sure.
especially, growing up, I didn't see much representation of me.
Huh?
And then secondly, I was so thrilled that the world has changed to where, diversity is accepted in every realm now.
Yeah.
Diversity is accepted. And I go back to beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it truly is, and beauty resonates from inside and out. So I cried because I was so happy and grateful to be in the magazine. And then also that, man, the world has changed and it's
Yeah.
continuing to change for the better. So I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah, I think that's a very real and natural reaction to think that, especially since you've been there, you have that,
Yeah.
life experience to know what it was like before. So
Mhm.
I'm sure it hits differently too, when you think about the past in a sense and where we've come from and when we come to.
Yeah.
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 Well said. And curious, last thing here, what do you like to do for fun? What are some hobbies, interests? I feel like I've gotten to know you really well, but what are
Yeah.
some things you like to do with your husband, like in your free time or sort of just for enjoyment? Do you have certain hobbies and interests?
So, well, I love dancing. My husband
Nice.
is actually a trained professional dancer. He actually danced with Cher for many years. I could
Wow,
go into
that's
his whole life
amazing.
thing. Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
You should be on
He
his
loved it.
on this
Yeah,
interview too, here, sharing his
he's
story.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome and he's been wonderful. But we love the community, our community of Long Beach, and we do a lot of volunteering. And one of the things that I love to volunteer for is a nonprofit called Get Safe.
Mhm.
And basically, in a nutshell, I could go on and on about it, but Get Safe is there to educate and advocate and empower community members to live more violence-free and safer lives. And we do that by education and training. And there's different types of populations that we teach, college students, corporations, the intellectual and developmental disabled community, survivors of sexual and physical assault. So that is something dear to my heart that I really enjoy doing is volunteering. I'm on the board of Goodwill, serving Los Angeles County, which I'm enjoying very, very much. So yeah, those are the type of things I like to do.
That's fantastic. You give back. You really are the patriarch of the community. You are Miss Long Beach. There's no
Yeah.
question about that. You know what, Nina? I think the next thing after sports is mayor of Long Beach. I think
There
there,
you go.
there might be potentially whoever's the mayor. Hey, there might be some competition in the re-election there because you
There
see
you go.
so committed to the community and giving back to, which is super important. You live there, so you know it better than anyone else, and and seeing what goes on there. So giving back is just a fantastic way of being a community member and helping your neighbors literally around you too. So
Yeah.
great.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I feel blessed to live in Long Beach, wonderful community. We're a big city, about 500,000 people, but
Yeah.
it's like a small town feel. Really
No
cool.
question. I've been there a few times. Very cool town. I enjoyed it. Where can people connect with you? Where can they see about the work you've done, and where can they? Is there
Mhm.
any links you want to share or social media
Yeah,
for everyone to check out?
sure. Absolutely. So thank you for asking. I'm, still getting used to the social media because I'm
Yes.
a Gen Xer and
So am
I'm
I,
like,
and I'm in this profession. But
but so my Instagram account is underscore Nina Cash underscore. You can find pictures, me there. And I'm working on the TikTok. I call it the
yep.
Instagram and the TikTok. So that's it for right now. Been super excited about doing commercials and different things. So I'm gonna posting stuff on those two social mediums. So
And the issues May issue, right? So I'm guessing
yeah,
out
May.
now, right?
It's
So
out. It's
check
out
it
now.
out.
So you can get it on newsstands or you can get it via Sports Illustrated website as well. So that might be
Uh-huh.
the easiest. There's 7 different covers. So yeah, it's all good.
That's so cool that you still get the newsstand thing. The in holding the physical copy is still pretty cool. I feel like in this day and age,
So cool.
digital, it's an actual magazine you can get from a newsstand or wherever you go. You're in a grocery store and bam, here it is. That's still like a cool thing, I would imagine.
It's fun. It's really cool.
You really deserve it all, and not only for who you've been and what you've done. It's like when you give to people and you care about others, it kind of comes around, as you can see it in your own life, and that's sort of the motto of life. So, what you give is what you get in return, and your life certainly illustrates that.
I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you so, so, so much.
It was an absolute pleasure to speak to you. You have such a great personality and such good positivity rating from you. So I can see why you were an easy selection and you're an absolute knockout. Also,
Thank you.
so you have a very lucky husband. I'm sure he knows it too.
He's pretty awesome. And I want to wish you all the best with this, your newfound passion. Good for you and good for you for getting your master's. Even at
Absolutely.
30 in your 30s. Good for you and all
Yeah.
the best of you.
I mean, you know what? It's like I said, you only live one life, so why not, right? No life with
Yeah.
regrets. That's my motto.
There you go.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
again. Hope to connect with you again. I'm sure big things coming up for you still down the line. So love to follow up at some point.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Jim. Have a terrific weekend. I think
Yes,
it's a weekend.
Memorial Day
Yes,
weekend.
today's
That's right.
Friday.
You too, and
Take care.
enjoy and keep on changing Long Beach. If I'm ever in an area, I know who to contact to
Yes,
get the best of
for
Long Beach.
sure. For sure.
Thank you so much,
Take
Nina.
care.
Take
Thanks,
care. Bye bye.
Jim. Bye.